Yes. All right, you want to go live? Yeah.
Evening,
All right.
everyone.
Good evening. Welcome, everybody, to the Budget and Finance meeting for Thursday, March 18th. A very happy St. Patrick's Day to those of you that celebrated it. I had Mexican last night, so I was good. I did have poblano sauce, which is green, so does that count for anything? Not sure. But, all right, so I'm just going to get the legal stuff out of the way real quick. This meeting is recorded by video and audio in accordance with state open meeting law, consistent with the governor's orders suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law and banning gatherings of more than 10 people. This meeting will be conducted by remote participation. If you are calling in on a phone, you can press *9 to request to speak. If you are watching on a computer or device, there is a raise hand button that you can tap or press to request to speak. So again, welcome everybody to the March 18th Budget and Finance meeting, where we have Councilor Memhard as co-chair, Councilor McCarthy as member, and myself, Councilor Cox, as chair. So we are going to go ahead and start with things in order unless anybody needs to get out of here for another meeting. Anyone going once, going twice? All right. So the first item on the agenda, Director of Elder Services, the Executive Office of Elder Affairs Formula Grant. John, I think you'll probably take that up. John Dunn.
Hold on.
There you are.
Well, I wasn't necessarily prepared for it, but
Okay, well, we can skip it.
I'm happy to take it up.
It's
So
an annual thing. I don't think there's a lot of questions.
there's not a lot of questions. It's annual. It's been pretty well the same amount of money each year for a while. The acceptance of this will in fact resolve a number of overdrawn accounts within the Council on Aging department, and will allow us to reclassify those expenses. So again, something that happens every year. Thank you very much, based on a formula from the state, and we would love to accept this.
And we would love to accept it. All right. Anybody else? Questions, comments?
It's been the same amount since 19.
Well, they really need to increase it because our seniors are not the same amount since 19. So work on that, Kenny.
Well,
Well-
again, this is, hopefully when we have an update in the census, that will change. But at this point, we're stuck with the formula that they have, which is number of people times X amount of dollars equals the amount you're going to get.
All right, fine. All right, so I don't see any questions. Go ahead and do a motion. I recommend the City Council accept under Mass General Law, Chapter 44, Section 53A, a Massachusetts State FY21 Council on Aging Formula Grant allocation from the Mass Executive Office of Elder Affairs in the amount of $88,848. There's no local match requirements for this state grant, and the grant period is from July 1, 20 through June 30th, 21, and I so move.
Second.
Further comments? Seeing none, roll call vote. Councilor Memhard,
Yes.
Councilor McCarthy,
Yes.
Councilor Cox, yes. Motion passes 3 in favor, 0 opposed. And Elise, hi.
Hi.
So we
Thank
just
you.
finished your item, so you're all set.
Yeah, sounds like nobody has any questions. Thank you all so much.
Have a good night.
All right, you too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right. So next item on the agenda. Mike Hale is here, so I'll go ahead and move forward with that. I'm sorry. Next item on the agenda is Hammond Castle. Jamie or Jill?
I think, Jamie, you correct me if I'm wrong, but Matt, are you going to take the lead, or Linda on this?
Yeah, I can do this one. This is an off-cycle application for Hammond Castle. We had funded a project for them last year that was for the restoration of the clerestory at the top of the building. They got to the final piece of it and uncovered some major issues in the roofing structures that needed to be taken care of that required additional funding. Came to us, we approved it unanimously for a total of $38,128 under historic preservation from CPC funds.
All right, and I do see that Linda Harvey is with us, so if you would like to say anything, Linda.
We're very grateful if we pass this grant to us on. We are looking for matching funds, and there's no reason that to believe that they will not be available. We've applied through the Mass Preservation Fund for the Mass Historical Council, and they're just waiting on their answer. But it's been supported by Bruce Tarr, Bruce Tarr and Brad Hill have both called to support the castle in this mission to complete this emergency repair. And things are going very, very well. Things have moved along quite well because we had to continue the project. We could not stop it. And we're looking forward to its completion, possibly by the 1st of May, when I intend to open the castle to the public.
Can you tell us a little bit more about what you found? The application in the file for us was just limited to basic information, so.
Sure. There was an area above the clerestory once the staging was put into place that we had no idea that there was an extreme amount of rot and deterioration to wood and to metal. There was no way of being able to see this until we actually got to the level that the workers could go in and tear out certain pieces that were necessary to remove to replace the clerestory. So it was something that we had to fix. We couldn't go any further with the project unless it was fixed, and it actually will assure us of further water damage that could happen to the facility in the future. So it was a good find, but unfortunately one that was unexpected and expensive.
Okay. The $38,000 that you've been awarded from CPA, how much of the project is that?
That's half of what the emergency request is. So the addition to our original budget was, the added amount was $76,256 added to the original budget.
Okay.
And we had included contingency fees amounts in our original budget, which just blew right past them, unfortunately.
All right. So I know that last round of CPA awards, you were awarded some money, and we had mentioned that I had mentioned, this is my own personal thing, is that having some sort of public access to the property, like Cape Ann Museum does the month of January free for residents. I know you can't do January because you're not open January, but I need you and your group of people to really think about how you can give back to the community that is giving you these funds to be able to stabilize your building. So
Absolutely.
At the public hearing, I would well, we're not going to have a public hearing, actually. We can vote on this tonight, you guys. I forgot that we had discussed that our annual requirement for public hearing doesn't necessarily require us, that eliminates the requirement for us to do public hearings for these one-offs. So it's up to us if we want to have a public hearing on it or not. But because we had asked that before and you're coming back on an off cycle, I think it's really important for there to be some sort of, I don't know, give back to the community.
Sure. Oh, Councilman Cox, what we do have actually in the immediate future is we have programs that are planned for the April school vacation. And they're very, very low fees to do them. And one is a free day for Cape Ann kids. So we're invited all the children from Cape Ann to come to the museum for tours that day at no cost. That's one way. We've been involved with numerous outreaches for kids in the Santa program and distributing free presents and gifts to them. This past year, we weren't able to do that because of COVID, but the previous year, I think we serviced 80 children with events and parties. And then we also do a free trick or treat event for the kids in the community. We also have various programs that we're now offering through video and streaming so that the community can pick up on those and be part of our educational series. There's also a free part of the castle that if you come in, we have an instructional video that anyone is welcome to come into our doors and see. Our grounds are open to the public year round. And this new video that's been created is basically focused on people who are handicapped because the castle is not handicap accessible. And we have been granted that by the state.
Are the virtual information sessions, are those free or is it a subscription or?
It's free at the moment.
Okay, all right, that
It's
works.
Hammond Weekly every Tuesday. There's a YouTube that we're putting out with educational information on it. As well as, oh gosh, there's one other program that we're doing that's great, that's going to be put out on a monthly basis.
Okay, great. I think that satisfies my request for a give back to the community for the funds that they're giving you. So does anybody have any questions, Councilor Memhard?
No, sounds good. Thank you for that question. But public accessibility is certainly an important part
Definitely.
and component.
We agree.
I agree that the grounds are always open to the public. You always see me traversing the area and taking pictures. I do have your gargoyle picture, by the way, so I'll have to get that over to you.
Thank you.
Councilor McCarthy?
Yeah, Linda,
Yes.
one of the criteria is, the ability to permanently protect the historic resource. And I'm wondering how COVID has affected you. I mean, I know the area very well, and I know you've had to sell off some land over there on both sides. And what is the long-term forecast for the castle?
Term forecast is that we've designed a lot of new programs. COVID did affect us very much so. We weren't able to open the doors until July, but when we did so, we created a system of time ticketing and reservations so that we could allow the restricted number of people in the castle at a certain time to meet all of the protocol that was put forth by the city of Gloucester as well as the governor. And so it did cut back on our revenue stream. We didn't have any fundraising events, which were planned because of gatherings. But when we look back into our records and our books between 2018 and 2019, 2019 was a record year for us. Our revenues were increased by 46% over 2018. And I think that is due to their new executive director and the programming and the reach out to the community and the vast amount of social media that's been put forward. We really are becoming a very recognized place on the North Shore, especially for Gloucester. And in 2019, we brought over 35,000 people to the community. That was the number of guests we had visiting us during that year's period. So we are looking forward to a very promising and exciting future. Programming is building out a site. We're developing STEM programs, which we feel will be very important to the education of our children. And we're making those programs available to as many people as we possibly can. So
Great.
We do really have a very bright future. I'm pretty excited about all we were able to do. COVID did give us a stumbling block, but we picked ourselves right up, and I'm very proud of my crew for the efforts that they made to be able to open the facility safely for everyone, including my staff. So we still had a lot to offer, and we'll continue to do so this year. We're very excited about our new season.
Great. I love the castle. I think it brings a lot to the community, and I would never want to see it go anywhere. So
It's not.
thank you.
even though I would like it as a private home, but only if it was my private home. But even then, I don't know that I want the expense of that being my private home. So,
Councilman Cox, I
Um,
think you probably wouldn't.
yeah. It was a good article in the paper. Was that today?
Yes, it was.
Good.
Very exciting.
I was on the treadmill at the gym the other morning, and one of the local news stations also had Hammond Castle featured in one of the programs. There's 5 TVs in front of me,
Mhm.
and please don't ask me which station it was because I don't remember. But it was really neat.
So we're working really hard to get the word out about us, and what we do, and why we're so important to the future and in our community. So,
All
thank
right.
you.
Well, everybody here should become a member of the Hammond Castle. It's great. We went to one of the things you had last year on the time ticket,
Mhm.
the tour, which was really neat. So congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Committee, do you want to have a public hearing on this or no? There's no requirement for it. Okay. All right. That's good. So Linda, we'll be taking this up at the next budget or the next city council meeting, which is next Tuesday.
Mhm.
You don't need to be there. I don't foresee that anybody's gonna have any questions that we are not able to answer, but you're welcome to be there. So it's at 6 o'clock on Tuesday.
Great.
You can get the link off of the city website.
I will do that.
All
And I
right.
thank you.
Any further questions before I make a motion? Okay. I recommend the city council appropriate up to $38,128 from the Community Preservation Act Fund as recommended by the Community Preservation Committee to provide off-cycle funding to the Hammond Castle for the purpose to preserve and rehabilitate the Hammond Castle courtyard. I am not going to be able to say that word.
Clear story.
Yeah, that one, ceiling, in order to restore a historic resource. The appropriation will be allocated to the historic preservation category and funded from the unrestricted reserve fund in 4500. The project will be tracked in Community Preservation Fund, Historic Preservation Projects Fund 4741, and I so move.
Second,
Further discussion? Seeing none, roll call vote. Counselor Memhard,
yes.
Counselor McCarthy,
Yes.
Counselor Cox, yes, motion passes 3 in favor, 0 opposed. So thank you, Matt. Thank you, Jamie. We will not be at all offended if you guys bow out and leave for the rest of the meeting.
Thank you
have a
very
good night.
much. Appreciate
night.
it.
No
See y'all.
problem. See you.
Good night.
All right, so the next item on the agenda is the local cultural grant in the amount of $10,900.
This is also an annual grant. And this grant actually has gone up by $2,400 since 19. So we're doing such a great job that's actually increased.
Great. You sent me the breakdown of that, did you not?
So that was fiscal year 20, just so you can see
Okay.
the various
Okay.
grants. We spent about $8,000 in fiscal year 20. So our office, we process the requisitions, any PO revisions and invoices. And we also provide the reporting to the MCC as well. And
Okay.
we work with the committee.
On the list from last year, can you tell me what the Ethnic Art Center of Somerville and why that ran through us?
My guess would be that's a performance. I would have to look that up.
Okay. I just thought that was odd, the Somerville thing. Yeah, okay. And how do people apply for this? Or Jill, if you want to go ahead and attack that.
Sure. So just so the committee knows, the Cultural Council was one of the 19 boards and commissions that are associated with, have now become, so this one has now become added to ComDev, because they really needed to get up and functioning early in the in this process, because their grantees were not able to, most of these are performances, as Kenny alluded to, or things that they come into the schools or, in-person things. So we brought them back online pretty early because they had to have the, this year's recipients come back to them and make amendments, and they had to approve all of that. And at the same time so that would have been FY20 recipients had to come back and have amendments. So we were doing that in the fall. And then the applications for FY21 were due in December, and they've been going through the process of approving those now. So I just want to shout out to that group of people. They have really done an incredible job they're one of the boards and commissions that holds themselves together, does a lot of work independently. I know they work closely with Kenny, and thank you. I know their treasurer just transitioned too. So anyway, it's a really incredible group of people. If you ever want to jump on one of their meetings, they've done a lot of work. Who's in it? So Elizabeth Newmeyer is the chair at the moment, and we've been actively appointing. I'm not going to get all their names right. I can look them up.
What is it? The community, the arts group, or
no, Gloucester Cultural Council.
Okay, all right.
Yeah. Anyway, so their application project for this fiscal year just closed. And so you can see, and actually they just, Lucas, I'm going to say his name last wrong. Anyway, they have a new member who is really pushing on their social media and their outreach and getting involved, connecting some of the other projects in town. So keep an eye on the Gloucester Cultural Council. There's a lot of good energy there right now. And they post regularly on their city website page. They're working on that, and they've boosted their social media. So if you go, are you looking now? So if you go to government, boards and commissions, down to Gloucester, let me see, Gloucester, where is it? Gloucester Cultural Council.
All right, I see.
So
it.
you
really have to dig for that.
Yeah, because I think it's the only one that starts with Gloucester.
Yeah.
So they've been updating this page. He's boosting their social media. I think recently new to the committee are Lucas is new, and there's someone else who we just added.
We work with Jane in our office.
Jane has retired from the committee. So
Okay.
Jane Teddy is no longer on the committee. So that's why I said you're gonna have a new treasurer. And this is new. Like I said, this group I brought this group in under us when they really needed to meet, and they had no guidance because we had so many other boards. So we got them up and running to meet. So you'll have a new treasurer. I don't know which member it is. I could take it. I'm not going to take a guess.
Don't guess. Yeah.
But you'll have a new treasurer. And so anyway, they're an incredible group. They deserve, Elizabeth was on the meeting the other night, Chris, about for boards and commissions. They're really, and they, to the point where I can get, if I have another meeting, the chair's always on, I can hand the Zoom off to her and they can run their meetings. They do their own minutes. So cheers to them. And I hope you guys will jump on and see their meeting someday. They do incredible work. So, and they really believe in the projects. They really look into them and get to know the projects they fund.
If it does say on here what the deadlines are and stuff like that, but it links to the Mass Cultural Council. Is that where I would find, I'm just wondering how they advertise for the applications and stuff like that. And it would be really nice if we could, those boards and commissions that have a deadline or have awards, stuff like that, that they do, it would be nice to have them showcased more on the front page of the website, Chris, if that's something that you could look into, or Nicole, just to kind of highlight those things. Because I work with a lot of artists, and I didn't know about this, not that I need it, but for me to be able to share that kind of information with the community. And I know this is relatively something that might be new, but I don't know, it just seems like these are kind of hidden things, and it's only the people that know about it, which makes sense.
With respect to the chair, if you don't mind me answering.
Yeah.
There is a more exhaustive review that we're conducting on the website to make sure we have effective communications, and that includes everything from our COVID weekly updates and using analytics to make sure that we understand where people are seeing our content, and that includes ADA and accessibility compliance. And so I've been working with Brian, our new IT director, to talk about content management, and I've heard the request from a few different places now. But I hear you about making sure that we can have the appropriate notices and alerts and more upfront, and it's well heard. And so I hope to have a more comprehensive, I guess, revision of these tools, but we're actively looking at them within the tool sets we have. As we all know, it's going to be a tough budget, but I'm still eager to showcase all the great content and events and notifications and the ways that we can use the tools that we have in front of us now.
Right, it took me 4 clicks to get to just the cultural council
And I hate
page.
that.
I don't know, I know we can't communicate on everything, but
Right.
I don't know.
But I'm
I don't know
happy
how to
to,
tackle
I hear your feedback and I echo it, and I still think we can make some gains on that, and I hope to share more soon.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you. Even some targeted like local colors, some of the galleries, some of the local association groups and stuff like that, the Writers Center. I mean, even if we could target just like a quick blast or something like that, and that's something the committee could work on as well. I'm happy to reach out to Liz and just, say, hey, let's try to do better. I can help. I'll have more free time next year. So anyway, all right. Any further questions from the committee? All right. Go ahead. with the mo-
And
Just to answer your question on the Ethic Arts of Somerville.
Yeah.
So there was a family puppet show at the Open Door on May 7th and June 12th of 2019, obviously pre-COVID. So there was two shows.
And we missed the puppet show. All right. Fabulous. Thank
You're
you,
welcome.
Kenny. All right. I recommend the city council accept Mass General Law, under Mass General Law, Chapter 44, Section 53, a state grant from the Massachusetts Cultural Council in the amount of $10,900 to the Gloucester Cultural Council for the purpose of supporting FY21 local cultural projects in the city of Gloucester by Gloucester Cultural Council. Grant period is from July 1, 2020 through June 30th, 2021. And there's no required local match, and I so move.
second,
Further discussion? Seeing none. Roll call vote. Counselor Memhard,
yes.
Counselor McCarthy,
Yes.
Counselor Cox, yes. Motion passes 3 in favor, 0 opposed. All right, so the next one up is finally Mr. Hale. Loan authorization amount and the request of $3,225,000 for various DPW sewer capital projects. Long motions. Mr. Hale, Mr. Dunn, anyone? Anyone? There we go.
I suppose I can take this, and,
Mike's here. I'll text him and,
so, yeah, Mike is here, and we kind of checked on that, but.
apparently Mike's down. He's calling in. So let me go to the participants list real quick.
There's Madam Chairwoman, there's a power outage over in that end of town right now with the transformer explosion just happened a few moments ago.
Of course, that happens when Mike has to get on. All right, give me 1 sec. I don't see him in yet.
Oh,
It looks like he's signing on now.
I see him.
Welcome,
Okay.
welcome, Mike.
How about now?
All right, everybody needs to mute except for Mike.
Oh, is this so?
So Mike, you really need to turn off your computer. or
Yeah, it's off
however-
now. Sorry about that.
Okay. Ooh, all right.
Everything seemed fine until the microphone was unmuted and it wouldn't work. My apology.
Chief just said that there was a transformer that blew in the area, so,
No, I think it's a PC issue because I'm not in that area right now.
oh, okay.
All right, thank you. First on the
Nothing.
agenda tonight is a sewer capital project loan order in the amount of $3,225,000. This is for various sewer projects throughout the city, including but not limited to East Gloucester infiltration and inundation removal. That's when the sewer pipes are leaking groundwater in, so we treat the groundwater, which is just an expense that we don't need. Mansfield Street Interceptor, which is the historic main drain for the city of Gloucester. Where it intersects with Western Ave, it needs to be lined to keep the integrity of that pipe in good shape. The Bertoni and York Road neighborhood, I believe the council has entertained oral communications or has heard oral communications on this neighborhood. It's adjacent to Poplar Street Public Works property. It's a subdivision from the 50s that is relatively subpar water and sewer that needs to be replaced. Currently, the sewer main runs under Route 128 to the sewer pumping station across from the bowling alley because 128 was not there when they built the subdivision. There's also some work on the main interceptor on Roger Street and Main Street. And that is the main sewer line that carries all the wastewater from East Gloucester to the wastewater treatment plant. And then we are finishing up the work on Grove Street and Colonial Street, which you heard a lot about that over the course of the summer and fall. This work will be done this year. We're ready to start right now, and hopefully we'll be done by midsummer with most of this work. Some of it will carry on into the fall, the bigger projects, but some of the smaller stuff will be done this summer.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions about the sewer project? Just in general, I'm gonna see if Mike wants to go ahead and talk about the water project, and then we can ask overall questions about the two different things and in regards to the loan orders without objection. Okay.
Okay.
Mike, if you want to go ahead and talk about the water.
So typically speaking, we do water and sewer projects together when they're in a street. Obviously, plant work is plant work, and that's relatively separate. But where they're individual enterprise funds, we have to ask individually of each fund. So this is a water capital project loan order in the amount of $1.2 million. It'll encompass Bertoni and York Road, which is part of the sewer project, as well as taking a look at the small section of Millet, Warner, and Forest that weren't included in the MassWorks grant. If we're going to put that neighborhood back together again, it makes sense to move 100 feet in either direction and close up that project forever, because there's in the late 90s, the top of the hill was done other than Trask Street. And so this project encompasses everything but a short run of pipe on Millet, Forest, and Warner Street, just past your property heading down towards Burnham Street. And that'll wrap up that, and then we can pave it all, put it back together again in the upcoming months.
Trust me, I'm the first person that really wants to give you that money, because the neighborhood's been going through hell to get it repaved. But did I hear you say within the next couple months you were going to have it finished and paved?
We are remobilizing. National Grid just completed their work. They gave us a release today. I have a construction meeting with my contractor and an engineering firm on next Tuesday afternoon to go over the schedule. And that schedule will take a look at everything that needs to get done. So I'll be able to provide you a schedule with the upcoming work.
Okay. I am super excited to hear that there's light at the end of the tunnel, and that it's not actually a train coming towards us, unlike last year. That was crazy. So the neighborhood's just been, I think I've had 3 flat tires, so.
And most of that work has been National Grid. It's been a tough project for them.
Yeah.
It really has. But again, it's a generational type project that won't need to be done in our lifetimes again, hopefully.
I have 19 years left on my mortgage. That's all I need.
You should survive 19 years now.
I'm sorry?
19 years is a short period of time in utilities. You should be fine.
Good. All right. All right. I'm very happy to hear that they're coming to the end of this project, because it's been torture. All right, Councilmember Hart, any questions on the sewer and or water?
No, no questions. Sounds like a regular annual investment in our infrastructure.
Yes, sir.
Councilor McCarthy?
Yeah, just for John, I think. John, the debt service on these loans, do they get paid out of the water and sewer enterprise funds?
Yes, they do.
Okay. And
So they become part of the rate as we move forward. So that, that's part of our calculation each year is whatever we have in debt service requirement that has not been moved to the general fund by a previous vote of a previous council. That all then gets, involved in the rate calculation that tells us what we have to charge for the rate for each fiscal year.
okay, so with these loans, we can anticipate that rate increasing, John?
Yeah, probably, Counselor, although again, the way the projects get done, the way the projects get paid, the way the debt gets issued on the project, even though Mike is talking about doing these things maybe starting tomorrow, well, not tomorrow, but once the loan order is approved after the public hearing, we may not issue debt on these particular things for another 3-4 years. So we are cognizant about what drives the rates, and we kind of layer in the debt service as the rates can reasonably afford.
Okay, yeah, that's something that we get complaints about all the time, and I'm sure Melissa.
Well, it's kind of a funny thing. I actually, answered this question for somebody the other day. Over the past 4 years, the combined water and sewer rate has gone up by 8%.
Overall, is that
I
good?
can't
fair?
guarantee that forever into the future, but the rates have been pretty moderate over the past 3, 4, 5 years.
Is that a low average, high average? I don't know what other communities do. So when you say 8%, that's, it sounds good, but I don't know what the standard is.
Well, it's actually pretty low. And there's some things out there that are probably going to bump it a little bit. We do try and be careful about layering this in, very, looking at, the entire cost with real estate taxes and water and sewer expenses. So we do try and manage that as best we can, not to have any big spikes. As we all know, there's a big project out there in the future that we're going to have to somehow figure out how to pay for. But for right now, Mike brings forward the things that he feels need to be done in order to keep the system in good shape. And we hope that, we're all able to afford that. And I think we've done a pretty good job over the past 5 or 6 years.
I agree. Mike, how are we situated compared to other communities? And because this is a big thing with the water rate. People complain about our water rate being high and other communities are really low, but they may not have done the amazing amount of work that we've accomplished in the last few years, 10 or 15 years, to do the combined sewer overflow, the replacement of the pipes, the number of grants that we've been getting to offset your costs, stuff like that. So when people attack us on the sewer rates, like, I always try to compare it with the amount of work that we've done, and if those communities have done the same work. So, it's hard for me to talk about other communities because we don't know, but I know you belong to a group of people, department heads and stuff that all talk. So I'm just curious.
So, rate structure varies from community to community. We are our own water users and supplier. We treat our own wastewater. Some communities belong to groups like Boston Water and Sewer or MWRA or Salem Beverly. We are our own. So we pay for what we have. We have very few wet industries around here. So, and again, our tax base is, 90+% residential. So we do pay. I don't think we pay significantly higher than anyone else. I think you take a look, Ty and Bond does an annual rate survey of water and sewer. You can Google it and you can find your community in that. It looks at all 351 communities. And you might only see the 2019 data, but you can still compare Gloucester to other places. We are not the highest in the country. We are not the highest in Massachusetts. We're not even the highest in Cape Ann. So I think people need to recognize that what they're getting. We have a very old water system. We have a very old wastewater collection system, and they require routine maintenance and capital investment every single year to keep up with it. Again, some of these projects I'm asking for are driven out of wear and tear and age. None of them are predicated on neglect. They're just old. The main drain on Mansfield Street was constructed in the late 1800s. So, I mean, it doesn't owe us anything at this point. It was manual labor, all done by hand. It's a brick sewer main that dewatered the Emerald Forest off of Maplewood Ave out to the harbor to create room for the railroad. When we don't have a high rate structure in the city of Gloucester. I try to explain that to people all the time, and there's just this misconception that someone heard once upon a time that we're the highest in the country. It's not even close.
Yeah.
And again, I think the service that's provided it's there. It's reliable. Very rarely do people go without water. And you take a look at what we pay for cable television or electric bills or phone bills, cell phone bills. I mean, those things rise at greater than 8%, that's for sure. And it's just the cost of doing it. It's kind of an undervalued service, if you ask me.
Right. And that's the other thing that we get is, the question of neglect versus need to repair or aging. So I'm glad that you brought that up as well. Thank you. Any further questions? Yes, Mr. Dunn.
I'll
Hold
just,
on.
Yep.
You remind me of Wilson from Home Improvement, because all we can see is from your nose up, and I just cannot get that out of my head. So please continue.
Well, thank you, but I'll bring in a picket fence next time and kind of put that in front. Mike brings up a very important point. So there is a company out there, Ty and Bond,
TIGHE.
TIGHE and Bond, BOND. They do rate surveys every year. And, as Mike said, it's just a treasure trove of information. And no, we're not the highest in the world. We're not the highest in the country. We're not the highest in the state. Yes, there are some issues that we have here that might have been ameliorated a little bit if 100 years ago we got into formal agreements with surrounding communities to do things together. That's not the case. So, we operate independently, but our rates are relatively high, but they're certainly not at the top of the list.
Okay, thank you. Anything further from Councilor Memhard? Anything further, Councilor McCarthy?
No, but I'm going to give you a call, Mike, because I want to know how they're going to do that Mansfield Street. I've tied into that before, and that is one fast running sewer.
You're welcome to watch us do it.
I don't want an invitation to that one. All right, so nothing further on the water or sewer. I will entertain a motion. Oh wait, that's me. All right.
Councilor Cox,
Yes.
if I can make a suggestion, you really only need to read the first sentence of these
Okay, the first-
orders, basically saying how much money is being appropriated and what is being appropriated for. The rest of it is basically boilerplate, doesn't change from and again, when you take your vote, you're voting on the entire motion.
Okay. I recommend the city council approve the following loan authorization as follows. Ordered that the city of Gloucester appropriates $3,225,000 to pay costs associated with various sewer improvement projects, including but not limited to East Gloucester I&I work, Mansfield Street Sewer Interceptor cleaning and lining, Bertoni York Road Neighborhood Sewer Relay, Rogers Main Street Interceptor cleaning and lining, and Grove Colonial Street sewer repairs, including costs incidental or related thereto. And I so move.
Second,
Further discussion? Seeing none, roll call vote. Council Memhard,
yes.
Council McCarthy,
Yes.
Council Cox, yes. Motion passes 3 in favor, 0 opposed. All right, the next motion. I recommend that city council approve the following loan authorization as follows. Ordered that the city of Gloucester appropriates $1,200,000 to pay costs associated with various water improvement projects, including but not related to Bertoni York Road Neighborhood Water Main Replacement and Upper Millet Forest Warner Streets water repairs, including costs incidental or related thereto. And I so move.
Second,
Further discussion? Seeing none, roll call vote. Council Memhard,
yes.
Council McCarthy,
Yes.
Council Cox, yes. Motion passes 3 in favor, 0 opposed. Thank you, Mr. Hale. Yeah, nothing else, right? Nope.
Nope.
All right.
More.
Thank you. Have a good night.
No, there's 2 more.
What?
Right in a row, right?
He doesn't get to go anywhere. We've got work to do.
Oh, Jesus. You're here for this, the streetscapes too. Oh,
Number
Jill.
6 first. Right?
All right.
SA 13,
Yes. Oh, good God. That one's little print in my emotions template. Sorry, I missed that one. Okay. Whenever
Ready?
you're ready. Yeah.
Okay. So this is a supplemental appropriation in the amount of $200,000 from the Building Maintenance Stabilization Fund. It's going to be used for various work in our schools relative to bathroom repairs, doors and windows, as well as some HVAC work. This is a fund that we dedicated for this type of work to have cash on hand. It's a small amount, but we feel we can make some big improvements to our buildings with this amount of money this spring.
Can you give a little bit more detail on which schools and what?
Well, it's not limited to any particular schools, but right now we're targeting Gloucester High School and some exterior doors at Beaman Elementary. The bathroom partitions and some of the fixtures at the high school haven't been renovated or replaced in 30+ years. Bathroom partitions, especially in boys' rooms, become rusty for some reason. We don't use metal partitions anymore. We use PVC partitions. Some of those partitions have been replaced over the years with sheets of plywood painted blue. They have some language on them that you probably don't want your children reading. It's an aesthetic that needs to be replaced. It's a plumbing code issue. And certainly replacing fixtures as they become aged when we're doing this work in the bathroom makes sense. We have all the partitions out. We can replace sinks, mirrors. We can put these thin veneers over old penetrations in the bathroom walls that once held recessed paper towel dispensers or recessed soap dispensers that we don't use anymore. So there's holes in the masonry in some of these buildings where these fixtures used to be in place. We use this very thin PVC veneer that goes over the walls, comes like whatever color the bathroom is. It really makes the bathrooms look well cared for, less likely to be vandalized. And this stuff lasts a very long time.
Good. All right.
Doors wear quickly. Door openers, most kids use their feet to open doors in the high school, not their hands. And the crash bars wear. You can only reset the doors so many times before they just don't shut well. And if they don't shut well, you can wind up with alarm calls or people entering the building when you don't want them to be.
Questions by the committee? Councilmember Hard? McCarthy? All right, seeing none. I recommend the city council approve supplemental appropriation 2021 SA 13 in the amount of $200,000 for building maintenance repairs, and I so move.
Second,
Further discussion? Roll call vote. Councilor Memhard,
yes.
Councilor McCarthy,
Yes.
Councilor Cox, yes. Motion passes 3 in favor, 0 opposed. All right. So loan authorization request in the amount of $600,000 for the ADA compliant streetscape improvements. Are you guys going to fight over who gets to do this one?
If Jill wants to lead into this, I can get the specifics, if that's how she wants to do this.
I'm sorry, Joe. Joanne had someone at her counter. I'm sorry. I'm on with Joanne, who's on this, and welcome to City Hall life. Mike, either way, so Mike and I work together on this shared streets grant, stemming from a project that Mike's been working on related to accessibility throughout the city of Gloucester, but particularly focused on the downtown region. The grant came to us. It's a DOT grant, but it's in conjunction with EOHED to bring back main streets and downtowns after the COVID pandemic. So being an infrastructure grant, I went to Mike, said, what do you got on the plate? Our goals from community development are connectivity, walkability, safe streets, and connecting people to parking, and connecting Roger Street and Main Street. Mike said, I just finished this great plan. Let's tackle some of these ADA accessibility ramps. And we brought on, so you'll see, I don't know how, I think, actually haven't seen the whole thing. I know Chairwoman, you saw it because you were on the public engagement session for the grant. So we identified the ones at the top of the list for most in need of improvements for the ADA ramps. We are also resurfacing Parsons Street, trying to highlight that connectivity, that if you see Parsons Street will go right from Main Street down to Roger Street, right to the top of the Harbor Walk, and connect you to that parking lot, current parking lot, and also adding a rectangular rapid flashing beacon. I've recently learned a lot about the different types of crosswalks and public safety measures that they put around crosswalks, because that's a mid-block crossing. People pick up speed on Roger Street there, and to make that safer. So we got a lot of positive feedback on this. Like I said, the chairwoman was at the public engagement session. This moves along the goals of a more elder-friendly community as well. So any of us, I have a handicapped mom, so I often have to push her around in the wheelchair downtown, and anyone who's experienced that knows this is a necessary project. And as we were talking about the grant with the mayor's office and John and Mike said, I have a few more, let's tick off a few more. And there was a request from the public, can you tackle any more of these while you're at it? Mike had some, and I'll let Mike jump in here, because this is where we said, take a look at it. John, John, anytime he can take $3 from the state and turn it into, and add a little of ours to make more money off of it, he goes for it and capitalizes on that. So I think the project came together as a whole really nicely and is connecting, I believe, up to the City Hall area, but I'll let Mike talk about that.
Thanks, Jill. So for the last few years, we've been working on an ADA transition plan that addresses deficiencies in downtown ADA compliance. Simply painting a crosswalk is inadequate. You need to make sure you have an appropriate crosswalk ramp. And in places where you have a mid-block cross, you want some sort of notification to motorists that people are crossing. This is something similar to the one we put at the bottom of Cherry Street, Cherry and Poplar. It'll be a call button, you press it, you can cross the road. Downtown was the primary area that we looked at for the transition plan, because it's kind of the highest pedestrian use, so to speak. You have the civic district around City Hall, and then you have the business district between Roger Street and Main Street. The shared streets grant focused on Rogers Street and its connectivity to Main Street. The other funding that we're looking at we've applied to grants and haven't been successful around City Hall, the museum, post office, and the library. Those are very high trafficked areas for pedestrians, and those streets haven't been touched in a long time as far as crosswalk ramps and other ADA amenities, so to speak. The reveal is very low on the curbing along Warren Street, making it difficult when some cars pull up to park. They go over the sidewalk, making the sidewalk too narrow to walk across. So we'll use the balance of this funds to address that area, kind of the civic district between Post Office and Middle Street. And it's not a complete redoing of all this, but it's going to take care of some of the worst areas, bringing us into better compliance. And the 275, that must be spent by the end of May. So this is going to be a very, very quick project. We're going to jump on it right away. We have already scheduled our paving crews to get out there. I think they start the 1st of April. We'll see what tomorrow's weather brings, but I still think it's going to be the 1st of April.
Great. Mike, those plastic bump outs at the edge, at the corners, they seem to wear rather quickly. Is there any way to avoid using those, or?
So those are detectable warning panels. Those are mandatory on crosswalks. It's for people who are sight impaired. They can feel when they reach the crosswalk ramp. They do make metal ones that kind of look the same. They have a rusty appearance to them, as you would imagine. We may start looking at using those because it's the sidewalk plows and turn movements. The one at the end of Dale Avenue, as you get out right by, I don't know if it's 91 Middle Street, kind of directly across from Attorney Pasquina's office. The UPS truck and those box trucks hit that, and when they turn on it, it's just kind of like putting your foot down on a mat and turning your foot. It moves, and over time it wears. So you have to have them. We'll look at different materials. There's not a whole lot of options. It's plastic, concrete, or metal. The concrete ones are a little hokey. So yes, they do. We have a bunch to replace this year.
Yeah. Okay. I just walking around downtown, as I do a lot, it's just something that I've noticed. So, all right. Councilor Memhard? Councilor McCarthy?
Nope.
All right. So let's see. I recommend the City Council approve the following loan authorization. Ordered that the City of Gloucester appropriate $600,000 to pay costs associated with various street improvement projects, including but not limited to improvements to streets, curbing, sidewalks, pedestrian walkways, and signage and signaling, whether for ADA compliance or any other requirement, including costs incidental or related thereto, and I so move.
Second.
Further comments? Is how much of the grant is this? Where'd you guys go?
So the grant, I'm right here. So the grant is 275 and change. And so the balance, unless we can, of course, well, you know me, we'll keep looking for grants unless we can take find anything else that'll go towards it. But the shared streets grant is 275,000.
Okay, great. Further questions from anybody? Right, roll call vote. Councilor Memhard?
Yes.
Councilor McCarthy?
Yes.
Councilor Cox? Yes, motion passes 3 in favor, 0 opposed. Mike, before you leave, I have a question that I meant to ask with the water and sewer stuff. I see a lot of surrounding communities are doing grants or, supplementing rain barrels. Anything on that, like that on your horizon?
We've done that numerous times in the last couple decades. They're bulky to store. We're not a town. It's not like we have, a few 100 houses or a few thousand houses that might want them. I mean, it's a difficult thing. We haven't been very successful with it in the past. We did it only a couple of years ago. You had to pre-order them, so they weren't stored on Public Works campus, and got a handful of people that were interested, because they're not always free. Sometimes the grant will offset the costs of them, and so it may be $30 for the rain barrel versus $60, and some people think $30 is just too much to spend on something like this. If it was free, they might take it. I know we had a free one. I wasn't director, but I was with Public Works. There was a free one, and we'd find them in various places in the city after people would pick them up. They didn't like them. They weren't well constructed. We certainly can look into it. We apply for lots of grants when it comes to this conservation of this or that, or solid waste. We're successful in most of them. This is just one that we haven't been very successful with. It's not so much applying for it, it's just the implementation of it. There hasn't been a lot of interest.
Yeah.
And compost too, that's another one we went through, and those were not well received.
Yeah, I know Ipswich had one a few years back, and they partnered with Corliss. So Corliss did all the heavy lifting, but Ipswich did the grant writing. I mean, I have 3 rain barrels, and I use them all the way dry every year for my garden and watering the lawn and stuff. And I just, with possible rate increase with water and sewer, and even just conservation of the water, I love my rain barrels. And the only thing that's keeping me from having more is the lack of more gutters. So yeah, that's too bad. Thank you for answering that. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, so the next item on our agenda, number 8, is Police Department supplemental appropriations. Jill is already gone. Mike, you don't have to stick around if you don't need to.
Thank you. Good night, councilors.
All right, yeah, Scott, did you have a question?
Saying goodnight to Mike.
Oh, all right. Wow, Jill did not waste any time getting out of there. Good for her. All right, Chief, go ahead.
Sorry. John, it would be easier if you start with this, or would you like me to explain it? I guess I can explain in a broad stroke here what's going on. We, the end of last year, 2 things happened. First of all, Council, we encumbered some money at the end of the year, some money that we had in excess of our budget in order to cover what we knew would be back pay for raises following the collective bargaining process. So that was one thing. And the second thing was that we, in the middle of the summer last year, I think the mayor made a very wise decision to bring on Julie, one of our parking enforcement officers, from part-time to full-time. And the return on investment on that decision is clear. So these transfers are to cover the deficits from those 2 things that we've done. How'd I do, John?
Pretty good, pretty good. So if I can jump in just a little bit. So the idea last year was to try and encumber salary money for the settlement of the patrolman contract. It just extended a little bit too far into the new fiscal year. We didn't feel comfortable necessarily with trying to encumber salary money from year to year when we got too far into the new fiscal year. So we let it go. And in fact, that extra that we were going to encumber basically just closed out the free cash. So that's essentially what we're doing here, is kind of clawing that free cash back that was generated by not spending it last year, not getting the patrolman's contract signed in time, and not being able to encumber things properly. So we're just doing it now. As the chief pointed out, it did make incredible sense given what we were faced with going into last summer to bring on an additional halftime. We just made the halftime parking clerk full-time. Very, very nice. warming
Sorry.
up your keyboard.
Yes.
Um,
I
and-
can tell when Bill is no longer providing a lap for the cat
Ah,
when he's cooking dinner because she comes up and bothers me.
it bothers you. That makes sense. Anyway, again, that made sense both in terms of being able to adequately do some enforcement, both downtown and at the beaches. And frankly, we've seen a fairly significant uptick in parking violation revenue. So that made a lot of sense, both from a public safety and as well as a financial point of view. So at this point, we kind of watched it through the year to see exactly where we're gonna end up, you know, how much you're gonna need to support both of these things. And that's what you have in front of you this evening.
I know that last year's budget season, we had talked about encumbering all this money. And I know you're saying that it went a little bit longer than you had expected it to, but I didn't expect it to be $180,000. I mean, that seems to equate to a lot more of a time than what we thought was going to happen. Because I know it during budget season last year, you said that it still wasn't signed, but we were holding this money aside. So yeah, I was shocked when I saw that.
Well, to be truthful, Counselor, I mean, what we were kind of, looking at last year in May was realistically a number that was probably 230,000.
Yeah.
So we managed through a fair amount of management to actually reduce that, that total to, again, 180 for the patrolman's contract. And again, the 20,000 that's going to parking, has at this point more than paid for itself by a factor of 3 or 4.
Yes. I know the ladies are always out and about and very active. All right. Questions, Counselor Memhard? Now I have cat hair all over my face. None? Counselor McCarthy?
None.
All right. All right, so we covered everything for both motions, right? Oh my God.
Yes.
Can you go that way? Cat hair everywhere. All right, where are we at? I recommend City Council approve supplemental appropriation SA 14 in the amount of $180,000 for the purpose of funding for FY 20 retro payout per union contract. And I so move.
Second,
Further questions? Seeing none, roll call vote. Council Memhard,
yes.
Council McCarthy,
Yes.
Councilor Cox, yes. Motion passes 3 in favor, 0 opposed. I recommend the City Council approve supplemental appropriation 15 in the amount of $20,000 for the purpose of funding an anticipated shortfall in FY 2021. And I so move.
Second,
Further questions? Roll call vote. Council Memhard,
yes.
Council McCarthy,
Yes.
Councilor Cox, yes. Motion passes 3 in favor, 0 opposed. Awesome.
Thank
Thank you. All right. Chief, you're free to go. We have the overdrawn report. Anybody have any questions about that?
We actually made some progress, if
Yeah,
I may. The Board of Health, that's gone away. The Council on Aging, 2 of the Council on Aging will go away with the formula grant approved tonight. And then there was also the transfer tonight for the police for the parking. So there was a lot resolved, and there was even more resolved tonight. So. that's all
Council
I have.
Memhard,
No questions. Thank you very much, Kenny.
Oh,
It does
Councilman
look like
Costa.
progress.
Welcome.
Kenny, why are we seeing a deficit in the veterans?
Oh, that was a vacation buyback. That was recent
For,
for Adam.
okay. And we got a memo from Nicole increasing the snow and ice budget for the year, so so that was good planning, but I think she cursed us by doing that, and now we're supposed to get snow tonight, so it all on you.
I'll take the hit for it.
I'm hoping it just stays to rain here for us. I mean, even an ice event would be bad for our budget, unfortunately, so
Yeah.
hopefully keeps it, you know.
I knew the minute I drafted the memo that it was, I was doomed. Kenny even called it, actually.
It's not really your fault. I took the orange sticks out of the driveway. and
Oh,
my
yeah.
husband Totally blaming me.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, you're not alone.
And here I thought it was me putting away my shovel.
Oh, see, I'm not even that crazy yet. I was just walking by a tilting orange stick and took it out.
All these things should happen in June.
All right. Any questions, anything further for budget and finance? You guys saw that there was an information only in regards to what we had asked for from the health department in regards to funding received from the health department. So that was in there. If you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out to Karen Carroll directly, or we can bring it up at the next budget meeting. So. All right. Anybody want to hang out here any longer and chill? All right, well, then I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All right, roll call vote. Council Memhard.
Good night, all. Thank you.
Good
Yes.
night. Council McCarthy.
Yes, good night.
Council Cox. Yes, good night. Thank you, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.